How does it feel?
Like I was made to wear it, man.
There's hardly any character from the early 2000s gaming landscape more memorable than the planet-hopping supersoldier, Petty Officer Master Chief, from the Halo games. Over a career that spans more than 3 decades, the natural-born leader has proven time and again that he's one of the most essential members of Dr. Halsey's crowning jewel, the Spartan Regiment. Despite the great fan interest, the Master Chief has always been a figure of intrigue, never betraying more than we need to know. However, the makers of Halo have also left numerous breadcrumbs throughout its various installments, turning everyone's favorite supersoldier into one of the most complex and well-rounded characters in fiction. Hello Marvelous viewers, and welcome to another Marvelous video. Today we'll be diving deep into the origins of the Master Chief, but before we move on, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. It might be a tiny click for you, but for us, it means a lot. The tragic backstory of the Master Chief, the beginnings of an icon. The Master Chief was born as John on March 7, 2511, in the outer colony world of Eridanus Secundus, in a place called Elysium City. He's said to have been a normal kid, brown-haired, freckled, and sporting a noticeable gap between his front 2 teeth. However, John was also a head taller than most of his peers, and possessed suitable attributes like great strength and mental fortitude. Despite these qualities, John lived a fairly normal life with his mother and father, but childhood on Eridanus Secundus wasn't easy, in fact, far from it, and to truly understand what turned John into the Master Chief, it's extremely necessary to understand the world he was born into. A brief history of Eridanus Secundus. John's homeworld was once a mostly rural planet, known for its breathtaking landscapes. First settled in 2440, the population of Eridanus Secundus gradually began to see Earth as an invading force, and pro-independence settlement began to rise. By 2494, tensions had risen to the point that the secessionist planet rose in rebellion against the United Nations Space Command. Surprisingly, they succeeded in taking over control for about 2 years, after which the UNSC struck back in Operation Charlemagne. The rebellion was dead, but the rebels survived. In 2513, under the leadership of former UNSC Colonel Robert Watts, the rebels gained significant ground once more. The Watts uprising again invited a ferocious counterattack in the form of Operation Trebuchet. It was presumed after Trebuchet that Watts had been killed, while the surviving rebels escaped to Eridanus Secundus in the system's asteroid belt. It was in this climate of constant conflict, terrorism, and turmoil that John spent his formative years. One day, John's school, Elysium City's primary education facility number 119, was visited by a seemingly unusual couple. But little did John know that one encounter with the nice lady in a straw hat would alter the course of not only his life, but that of many others. The lady in the straw hat that fateful morning was none other than the elusive genius Dr. Catherine Halsey.
But nigh impossible to detect. If I could have used the clones, of course I would have. But the damn
Dr. Halsey and the abduction of John 117. Tired of repeated insurrectionist movements on Earth's outer colonies, the UNSC initiated the Black Ops program, Spartan 2. Dr. Catherine Halsey was chosen to lead this program, owing to her prior experience in the area. The objective was to create a force of Earth's ultimate warriors who could safeguard her colonies in every habitable system. However, the methods suggested by Dr. Halsey to achieve that objective weren't just illegal, they seemed to be plain immoral. In her journals, we catch a glimpse of Dr. Halsey's methodology for the Spartan 2 program. She writes, "There is an ancient saying that the beginning of wisdom is ignorance. So where do we create the ultimate warrior? With innocence?" Thus, the candidates selected were children who could be raised in the way of war, with unshakable military values instilled in them from a very young age. By 2517, Dr. Halsey had identified 150 suitable candidates by procuring DNA from the UNSC's Outer Colony Vaccination Program. The very first child selected for this program was John, but the factor that sealed his entry into the Spartans was not the strength we spoke of earlier, it was luck. John, along with other selected candidates, totaling around 75, was abducted from his home for their program. To cover their trails, the children were replaced by flash clones, all of whom were designed to pass away in 6 months of natural causes. Soon, John was assigned a training uniform and a new name, John 117.
Your mission, John? is to survive.
A new life. For the next 8 years of his life, John underwent rigorous training with other Spartans under the Chief Petty Officer Franklin Mendez. The training focused not just on physical training, but also on other necessary disciplines like history, military strategy, and weaponry. While with his parents, John had been an outgoing kid who liked participating in games with his friends and winning them, owing to his superior physical attributes. But after his abduction and under the constant pressure of SCPO Mendez, John grew into a reclusive teenager. However, he also developed deep-rooted loyalty for his fellow Spartans and an infallible moral compass. Despite the endless training designed to turn them into living weapons, John managed to find friends and confidants like Kelly 087, Linda 058, and Samuel 034. In one of the more reflective moments of the series, Sam notes, "The thing about John is that he only really knew 3 ways to react to people. If you were his superior officer, he would obey you. If you were in his squad, he would die for you. But if you were a threat, then God help you." But this statement leaves out one of the most influential personalities in a young soldier's life. Dr. Halsey's relationship with her first recruit was different from many others. She became one of the few people, apart from his squad, to have John 117's trust and obedience. This would continue throughout both their careers. The severity of this training can be gauged from the fact that at the age of just 8, the Spartans were dropped into a forest, nestled deep in one of the Reach's snow-capped mountain ranges, and expected to make it to the extraction dropship, Pelican. However, what makes this routine exercise truly disturbing is the fact that the Spartans were specifically instructed to leave the last one arriving at the extraction behind. It was also during this mission that the other Spartans first began to see John 117 as their leader. As the children arrived at the Pelican, they discovered that it was guarded by armed men. In actuality, the men were out-of-uniform UNSC Marines. Owing to their inexperience, and the fact that the children had never encountered Marines before, they assumed that the men were hostile. John 117, who had been vehemently against the idea of leaving one of his fellow Spartans behind, beat down the men with stones. He was also able to hijack the dropship without the help of the dumb AI Deja. In the act, John 117 heavily injured several Marines, but made sure that every single Spartan made it onto the dropship. Despite being displeased with his insubordination, both Dr. Halsey and Chief Mendez recognized the great potential in the boy and promoted him to squad leader. From this point on, irrespective of rank and hierarchy, the other Spartans would always see John as their de facto leader. Soon, John grew into a well-rounded, tactical, and above all, lucky Spartan. His rigorous training meant that by the time he was 14, John already had the build of an Olympic athlete.
Promoted to Petty Officer 3rd Class.
The Master Chief's marvelous story arc, the first mission. Remember the infamous UNSC turncoat, Colonel Watts? You know, the one that incited the native population into rebellion back on John's home planet? He was perceived to be dead after the UNSC retaliation caused a bunch of his warships, including the one he was on, to be blasted into deep space. Well, it turns out that the turncoat wasn't dead. He was hiding with the rest of his rebel forces, slowly gaining momentum for another uprising. While hiding away in the debris of an asteroid belt in Eridanus Secundus, Watts realigned the surviving insurgents in the outer colony and installed himself at their helm. These surviving factions declared themselves the United Rebel Front, and over the years were constantly engaged in conflict with the UNSC's forces. To sustain their operation, the faction also indulges in piracy, slowly gnawing away at the UNSC's control system. In 2525, the UNSC decided to finally let their newest recruits have a go at one of their oldest enemies. John 117 and his squad, the Blue Team, were soon deployed to the Eridanus Secundus space docks. Their objective? Infiltrating the rebel base, capturing the colonel, and returning him unharmed to UNSC territory. They infiltrated a freighter disguised as members of a maintenance crew, and rigged the fill sensors to sabotage the water tank. The Blue Team then docked into Eridanus Secundus, where John led the team further into the well-guarded rebel base. After overcoming numerous obstacles, John and his team finally emerged at Watts' apartment, where the colonel was found cowering behind a crate of luxury goods. In the resulting skirmish between guards, John was shot 3 times, but ignored it, killing one of the enemies. Leaping at Watts, he then broke his finger like a twig, sending him into a deep, restful sleep. The Spartans then carried the colonel out of the docking bay, blowing the bay to smithereens in the process. After the operation, a child's rhyme was created amongst the kids in the Eridanus system. Don't be spoiled, don't start a fight. Always be careful here at night, because the Spartans might come in suits that weigh half a ton, and they'll steal from you all you got, just like they did from Colonel Watts.
My heart stopped when Sam took the shot at
fallen comrade. Over the course of the Halo franchise, John 117 has been the central figure in many key battles and conflicts. John and his Spartans became even more indispensable to the UNSC and the Office of Naval Intelligence after first contact was established with the Covenant on the outer world of Harvest. This contact and the subsequent destruction of the planet served as the inciting incident of the decades-long Human-Covenant War. After the massacre at Harvest, Dr. Halsey and her prize Spartans boarded the UNSC Commonwealth under the command of Captain Wallace. They soon found themselves at the Damascus testing facility, and Kai Seti 4. Here, the team was armed with their signature Mjolnir-powered armor. On November 27, 2525, the UNSC Commonwealth was suddenly attacked by the Covenant light cruiser Unrelenting, which opened fire on the Commonwealth. The ensuing battle proved to be one that left permanent scars for everyone involved. After learning that their suits were EVA capable, John 117 led the other Spartans into boarding maneuvers. The Spartans emerged from their ship using thruster packs, thus intercepting the Unrelenting. As the pulse lasers on the Unrelenting fired at the Commonwealth, its shields were momentarily lowered. This allowed John a brief window, using which he was able to sneak himself, Kelly 087, and Samuel 034 aboard the enemy ship. Using Anvil 2 missiles, the three Spartans would then proceed to destroy the Unrelenting from the inside. However, when fighting an enemy like the Covenant, no victory comes easy. In a skirmish inside the ship, Sam 034's armor was destroyed by a plasma fire. This rendered him incapable of making it out of the enemy ship. This incident would forever be heavy on John 117's heart, as he and Kelly were forced to leave Sam aboard as a willing sacrifice. This tragic loss was unfortunately not the last, and many more would fall before the conflict could be resolved.
Last time we were here, I asked Sam to trust me to take us home.
A veteran of war. Owing to his actions, John 117 soon became a legendary icon amongst the UNSC's other troops, as well as the general public. A seemingly indestructible soldier who, through his valor and sacrifice, had been a pivotal player in one of the largest conflicts in humanity's history. UNSC propaganda often represents John 117 as the ideal human soldier, a weapon with a golden heart. Amongst his peers, fellow servicemen, and Spartans, John began to be seen as a source of inspiration, especially by young cadets. In certain cases, like that of Colin McInnes, a deserter, John's influence helped the young cadet overcome his fear and even insist on more missions going forward. It was due to this natural charisma and magnetism that the chief's influence far exceeded his rank as a petty officer. On multiple occasions, individuals have vouched their loyalty to the chief, even taking on the UNSC itself in the process. Over the different installments of Halo, fans have got a pretty thorough look at all the different facets of the enigmatic Master Chief. However, there's one aspect of him that has forever evaded the masses.
Not lucky enough. We lost 2 Spartans today. Solomon.
The fall of the Reach. The last stepping stone in the Master Chief's journey towards the events of Halo, Combat Evolved, was the fall of the Reach after a Covenant fleet invaded the Spartan stronghold in a direct invasion of UNSC space. Anticipating an attack, most Spartans were deployed to protect the generators that power the Reach's impenetrable defense platforms. Stationed at the Gamma Station, John's team was sent to terminate an essential navigation database, the discovery of which could provide the Covenant with the location of every habitable human world. Followed by his trusted comrades Linda and James, John's team was suddenly ambushed by the feared Sangeli, the very elite of the Covenant's forces. John was somehow able to finish the alien in close quarters combat and destroy the nav, but both Linda and James died during the mission. John and the rest of Reach's fleeing forces somehow found their way to the UNSC Pillar of Autumn, where they were all put into cryosleep as per the Cole Protocol. This protocol stated that, to protect the location of the human homeworld, Earth, all retreating vessels were forbidden from setting a course towards any known human population, and thus begins the story we've all grown to love so much. Powers and abilities. A super soldier. In addition to their grueling training, Dr. Halsey also made the Spartans undergo extremely dangerous physical augmentation procedures under the Spartan 2 program. John could withstand the modifications to his body, along with only 32 others. For the rest of the Spartans, the procedure turned out to be either fatal or cause permanent disabilities. However, the ones that survived that unsurmountable pain unscathed became something more than human. Through modifications like carbide ceramic ossification and muscular enhancement, enhancement injections. The soldiers that survived were made capable of achieving feats that were plain superhuman. It's said that the Office of Naval Intelligence almost perceived the success of the Spartan 2 augmentation program as the next step in human evolution. The alteration of the Spartan's body went beyond just physicality. It also gave the soldiers enhanced reflexes and superhuman eyesight, and even made their bones almost indestructible. But the limits of these new soldiers deserve thorough testing. It has been documented that after the procedure, the surviving Spartans were transported to the UNSC Atlas to recover in a microgravity environment. However, this was all a ploy by the authorities to test the true skills of their new killing machines. While in the Atlas gym, John was faced with 4 orbital drop shock troopers, whose sergeant then ordered them all into the boxing ring. The fight that followed was a one-sided beatdown. John killed 2 of the ODSTs and left the rest severely injured. Officials from the Office of Naval Intelligence, like Major Antonio Silva, have since confirmed that the incident was a deliberate test and that John had passed with flying colors. Dr. Halsey had created the perfect soldier. The next step, of course, was to arm them with the ultimate weapon.
Within a decade, the outer colonies are almost completely annihilated by the power.
The gun and the man who holds it. In Norse mythology, Mjolnir is the hammer wielded by the famed god of war. Thus, it was indeed an appropriate name for the project that was supposed to create the most advanced piece of tactical military hardware ever placed in the hands of soldiers. Spanning 3 decades, Project Mjolnir required the pioneering efforts of numerous scientists, including Dr. Halsey, to go into the development of battlesuits. Each suit cost as much as a starship and employed revolutionary super-dense optical computer memory, which allowed them unprecedented control over the mechanics and mathematics of the battlefield. This section, however, is not meant to sing praises of the suit, but to serve as a setup for one of Spartan's most infamous exploits. It's one of the last stages of the Spartans' training. John was relocated from their barracks in the Reach to a complex system of deserted titanium mines, reaching deep into the earth. Left on their own without any equipment, John and the other Spartans were made to face Marines in Mark I Mjolnir armor. The Spartans, however, used guerrilla tactics and fashioned impromptu gear to sustain the Marines' attacks, wave after wave. At the end of the trial, it was evident to everyone involved that Dr. Halsey had managed to raise a force the likes of which no one in the world had ever seen before.
Spartans aren't human. They're faster, stronger, smarter. They cannot be stopped.
Interesting facts about the Master Chief, the perennial mystery. Ever since he first appeared in 2001 on the cover of Halo Combat Evolved, the Master Chief's face was always hidden by the iconic Mjolnir armor helmet, with its wide reflective visor and rugged military design. Master Chief's character design is one of the most recognizable in the gaming world. After Halo's success, Master Chief's story has also been adapted to numerous other creative mediums, like comics, novels, and animated shows. The one glaring similarity between these properties is that none have ever shown the face of an adult John 117. We do have glimpses of John as a kid, but never after he first dons the ODST uniform after one of his earlier missions. The OSDT outfit is then replaced by Mjolnir armor. Maybe it's best that way. Perhaps the Master Chief's face was never meant to be seen, a deliberate effort by the creator to make sure that every player could identify with the character while playing the game. Well, most of us believed we'd never know. And then in 2022, Paramount Plus dropped the first season of its new show, Halo. The show takes a special interest in Master Chief, as is necessary for any show based on the franchise. But the most surprising aspect of the show was that Master Chief, after rescuing Quan Ha in the very first episode, proceeded to take off his helmet. Overturning one of the boldest decisions from the original trilogy drew diverse reactions from hardcore fans. However, only time can tell how the decision will pay off as the show proceeds to its second season. But no one can deny that all Halo fans are eager to discover what actor Pablo Schreiber can bring to this already iconic and unforgettable character.
If you knew how you were going to die, how would you live your life?
Mind-blowing appearances from the Master Chief. The Master Chief serves as the protagonist for most of the Halo game series, and has become synonymous with the franchise over the last decades. Throughout the original trilogy, starting from Halo Combat Evolved to Halo 3, the Master Chief serves as the player's insert, guiding us through the complex world. In addition to this, he also makes appearances in Halo 4 2012, and is one of the Easter eggs to be discovered by the player during the game of Halo Reach 2010. The Chief also plays the protagonist in the latest installment of the franchise, Halo Infinite 2021. Owing to the Chief's massive popularity, he's also become a mainstay in the spin-off media related to the series. The Chief's first appearance in the live-action 2012 film HAL 4, Forward Unto Dawn, portrayed by Daniel Cudmore and voiced by Puccinelli. He's also the protagonist of the aforementioned 2022 TV series, where he's played by Pablo Schreiber. Apart from TV shows and movies, the Chief is the central protagonist in numerous novels like The Silent Storm 2018, Oblivion 2019, and Shadows of Reach 2020. He also appears in the Halo graphic novel and various other graphic novels. As one of the key mascots of the Halo franchise, John has also made guest appearances in other games like Super Bomber and Fortnite. It's clear from these appearances that the Chief is a crucial part of our cultural zeitgeist, a fact that has been acknowledged even outside of gaming and film media. In 2007, the Madame Tussauds establishment unveiled a 7-foot-tall wax figure of the Chief in LA, making him the first gaming character immortalized by the reputed Wax Museum. The Marvelous Verdict. The story of the Master Chief is one of perseverance and suffering, one that exemplifies the desire to hold one's values despite the worst odds being stacked against them. His journey from a child soldier to one of the most decorated warriors in the Earth's armed forces has undoubtedly inspired every Halo player in some way or another. Despite the overwhelming hordes of the Covenant, it's always reassuring to remember that we're under the protection of the Chief, whose luck will ultimately bring us victory. That's it for today. If you like this video, tell us what character we should dive deeper into next time.